This is the CCW Happy Hour Podcast series. I'm Brian Cantor, Principal Analyst for CCW, and your host for today's discussion. We're currently navigating very trying times, ones in which the way we empower our agents to connect with customers are more important than ever. That ability we have to think swiftly and efficiently about elevating the customer experience is absolutely game-changing right now. Now, as we navigate these very difficult waters, we're turning to key members of the CCW Advisory Board for their help and their guidance and their insight. What are the biggest priorities, not only in times of crisis, but also as we take the step forward and start to build the future of the contact center? One of those individuals is Gabriele 𝗚 Masili. We like to call him G, and he currently works for Microsoft. He has a joint focus in customer service and technology, and therefore represents a great fit to weigh in on the future of the customer contact space. He's also going to be part of the annual Customer Contact Week Vegas event, which is now in its 21st iteration. That's going to be taking place this August in Las Vegas, and we could not be more thrilled to welcome him and the entire customer contact community as we pave the road to a more customer-centric, more agent-centric contact center environment. So G, how is everything?
Hey Brian, thanks for having me. Everything is as good as it can be in these times.
It's definitely a tough area there, and it really does cause us to reevaluate exactly how we've approached this customer contact function. You know, when things were going so well, it was easy to get away with half measures and shortcuts. We were able to do a few things right and be able to think that everything was rosy. Well, now we're really seeing that you have to make sure you're doing everything right. And those companies that were going back and taking a long-term look at the contact center, but also maintaining that agility for the short term, those are the ones that are in position to best connect with their customers.
Absolutely agree with you. The situation requires maximum focus and attention on what we are delivering to our customers, both from a service and product standpoint, but maybe even more importantly, from a support standpoint. Because when the customers are already under difficult circumstances, any kind of further hurdle we can bring them through due to our quality of support can further dampen their spirit. And we need to prevent that at all costs.
Without question, and that will definitely be at the backdrop of a lot of our conversation today. But I also want to touch on the fact that you're so valuable because you have that hybrid background in technology and customer service. You can really identify some of the challenges that contact centers have historically faced, as well as what they need to be thinking about moving forward to make sure they stay ahead of the curve, to make sure that they're not only weathering the current storm, but that they're ready for whatever happens down the road. So to start the conversation, I want to dive into your background and some lessons you can share with those who want to best combine technology and customer service strategy.
Absolutely. So when I have a software engineering background, I come from the software engineering space, but then through my career, I stumbled across customer support, and I really loved that space. So I've been growing in parallel in the two areas and bringing always together what I believe is the best of the two worlds. So when you can combine technology with what us as people can offer, that's when you get the ideal customer experience. Right now, as the Chief Technology Officer for support at Microsoft, I have the opportunity to oversee the entire technology space for support across all the products and services we offer as a company. And as you can imagine, that is addressing customers from multiple segments: consumers, gamers, IT admins, commercial customers, big enterprises and partners, and so on and so forth, and across all the languages. And the reason I want to emphasize that is because right now, one of the first things we need to consider here is, where is our workforce? Where are we providing support from? Because most likely it's going to be in some place where they are either impacted by the recent lockdowns that are happening around the world, or they are going to be potentially impacted by those. So how do we arrange for that? How do we implement work from home procedures? How do we make sure that our support agents can still provide a service to the customers even in these difficult times? The technology exists, clearly. It is 100% possible to run a contact center environment entirely remotely. Personally, I had the opportunity several years ago to build 100% virtual workforce when I was in Europe, and with great results in terms of customer satisfaction. But that was by design. So at that point, everybody was working from home because it was an entirely virtual workforce. Now we are in a different situation. We have to transform our current workforce to help them during the transition from working from a contact center environment into moving into their homes. That is not always easy or possible due to the personal circumstances of each one of those support agents. But from a technology standpoint, what we can do, we can help them to do that transition as smoothly as possible, and therefore continue to provide service to customers even from a different environment.
All great insights, G, and it's not surprising because in leading support for a company that is so on the cutting edge when it comes to balancing technology and customer experience, you're really gaining a powerful perspective. But what I like is that you don't simply lead a customer service operation in your own organization. You also really study and really analyze the space. You're an influencer, an advisor, a broader analyst when it comes to what other organizations are doing when it comes to customer contact. Now, you start to touch on things like work from home and allowing our companies to be more flexible. As we start to look toward the rest of the year, what are some things that you see as overall priorities for the customer contact space? And that could be whether they're in a technology company or even whether they're in a manufacturing parts company. What are the big factors that need to be top of mind to make sure that A, we can do everything we can right now, and then B, when this subsides, we can still be delivering great experiences for our customers?
I do believe that what is happening across the world will somehow change the way we look at support, as the way we look at a lot of other things. But disaster recovery is going to be much more important and much more considered. I mean, having been in the contact center space and in the customer support space for a while now, we all know that there are disaster recovery plans or emergency plans that are put in place. But most of the times they rely on moving volume from one queue to another queue at best. We are now going through very different situations where we need to, as I shared, maybe transform our entire contact center to be work from home in a matter of hours. We have seen this situation in the Philippines as an example, where in the Manila area, basically the government within literally hours asked everybody to stay at home and not go to work anymore. So it's one of those examples where the businesses have to react quickly. I think this will be more top of mind as we move forward and we'll leave this emergency behind us. And why that is important is because it will allow to design the contact centers in a different way. And as I shared earlier, I truly believe that when you combine technology with the human expertise, you get the best experience. So this is an ideal time to also accelerate the injection of artificial intelligence into the support space. So creating virtual support agents in front of customers can help mitigate the volume spikes that can be materializing in situations like the one we are in right now. And it's so much faster and easier to train a virtual support agent for simple and trivial transactional questions than it is to train a vast workforce, especially if you need to handle spikes when you don't have that flexibility. So when you combine the two, you can still have a very good response, a prompt response to customers in need, but in the meanwhile, keep your human expertise to tackle the things that they are better at, where more empathy is required, where additional knowledge is required, and all the edge cases that are less common, but where the human ingenuity can more easily provide solutions to customers.
And you're touching on something there that I know from your past blogs and commentaries and sessions at our events is a huge passion area for you. You really do think a lot about AI and the digital transformation. Now, you really just laid out a great framework for why AI is more important than ever and where it can fit into the contact center. And I'm wondering if you can share some specific insight into any success Microsoft has had with using AI for efficiency purposes and allowing agents to use their ingenuity to create a better overall experience for customers.
Definitely. We are using AI in front of most of our customer support interactions, one way or another. It takes sometimes explicit forms when it is the one welcoming the customer. In our consumer space, as an example, in the gaming space, we have a virtual agent that is the front door to a lot of our support experiences. So the customers will start interacting with a natural language dialogue with a virtual agent, which is going to provide answers. The virtual agent also will recognize whenever is not sufficient. So, and in those cases, recommend the customers to interact with a human agent. So that's what we call proactive recognition. In those situations, the virtual agent will simply say to the customer, I'm seeing I'm not helping here. Do you want me to transfer you to a human agent? And in that situation, what we do, we transfer all the context. So the customer do not have to repeat themselves while they go through this process. And the human agent that is taking the conversation already knows exactly what was exchanged before with the virtual agent, so they can take it from there. It makes a world of difference to start with a customer saying, I see you were looking for the resolution of your battery problem, rather than to ask, hey, what can I do for you today? So that is one example when the artificial intelligence is prominent and visible to customers. In other situations, we have it working in the background. As an example, in some of our commercial ticket creation workflows, what we do is when an IT admin is opening a ticket request for a support case, in the background, there is artificial intelligence that is understanding what are the possibilities for the customers to have a specific problem and prompting solutions while the IT pro is creating the ticket. So they will be there trying to open the ticket, and immediately they find a possible resolution directly through AI that is working in the background. In that case, is somehow happening in parallel, so it doesn't filter your input and it doesn't slow you down, but in the meanwhile, it enriches the experience. And we see extreme satisfaction from customers when that happens, because I am there about to open a request for help, and instead I find a solution right there without me doing anything additional. So it's a delight for customers.
Over the course of the conversation so far, you've referenced things that could become buzzwords, whether it's business continuity or disaster recovery or pairing AI with human ingenuity. And gee, we know our community loves its buzzwords. It loves trends and those cool phrases. Things like cost center versus profit center, omni-channel, frictionless customer experiences, transactional versus relationship calls, digital transformation, AI for simple issues so that agents can do complex work. We've heard them all, and really it's about anything that can rally the customer contact community behind action and get them all thinking about the right topics and moving in the right direction. So when you think about these buzzwords, G, I want to ask you, which of these really matter right now? What are the trends and cool phrases we should all be obsessing over? And then I'm going to ask you to also put on your prediction cap for a moment and look 3 or 5 years ahead and tell me what you see as maybe the next cool trend, the next buzzword that we're going to be covering so frequently in customer contact.
I love this question because with buzzwords, a lot of times it comes the complaints from the people saying, oh, we heard of this again. Is in reality, there is nothing going on in this space, or we are now past that trend, and etc. But I don't think that's true in a lot of those buzzwords. Take omnichannel as an example. If you look at the reality of the industry, of the support space, there are so many companies that do not offer multiple channels. So leaving the customers without a choice on how to engage support. So even if it has been around for a while, that word, I still believe is very much trending today and important for the future. What I see evolving for omnichannel is it's going to change the meaning from having phone and chat to having, as an example, voice and digitally assisted experiences together. So AI, again, will be injected into the omnichannel experiences, allowing customers to have a end-to-end experience that is more smooth. Imagine a situation where you are in need to get help on a product. You can interact with the product and get some information directly within the product. Then if that is not sufficient, you can be handed over through a flow of chat with a virtual agent. And if that is not sufficient, you're going to be escalated to a human assistant. And all of that can happen through different channels, but in a completely smooth way. This is what we call sleek handoff. So if you want another buzzword, here we are. Sleek handoff is the opportunity to remove the seams from the support interactions for customers, so that from a customer standpoint, there is only one single flow, and I'm never repeating myself as a customer, and I get from whatever I'm landing to the resolution of my problem, even if that includes changing channels or changing modalities, without me knowing that that is happening. So that is one of the things that I think we are going to be seeing more and more as we move forward.
Certainly some of what you've touched on throughout the conversation, and even right there with the idea of a slick or a seamless handoff, really speaks to the idea that technology can play a major role. Now, I want to give you the chance right now for all who are listening to share one technology investment that you see making an instant impact within the contact center. Don't get me wrong, G, I know you're not a big silver bullet, snap your fingers and everything's going to magically fall into place kind of guy, but I also know that you have seen results quickly. So what is that one technology that you feel can help companies make a quick impact?
I would say if we are talking about a contact center that do not have textual interactions or chat, text, or any other form of messenger on social media, then that is certainly one thing you need to invest upon, because the customers love the opportunity to interact in an asynchronous manner without interrupting whatever they're doing in their day. They are multitasking. They don't want to stay on the phone most of the times, but they will always have the opportunity to text something through one of those textual channels. And then along with that, it goes the opportunity for automation and to inject artificial intelligence right there. So I would say virtual agent technology should go hand to hand with the implementation or the expansion of your textual channels, because it's an ideal media today for the way the virtual agents are working. It is more smooth and is more powerful than current voice interactions. So I would say today I will look at the combination of those two technologies. 3-5 years out, most likely it's going to be different. I would expect voice to take a much more prominent position there, and we're already running pretty interesting experiments using 100% voice interactions, both through assisted technology as well as artificial intelligence applied.
Now, G, I want to flip that question for a moment. I know that you're a big technology guy, but I also know that you're a big strategy person. You focus intently on how operational decisions can impact the contact center. And so I want to ask you, what is one strategic shift or operational change that you feel can also make an immediate impact for the contact center and really help put them on the road to customer centricity?
I think that flexibility has to be top of mind for everybody, not only to be ready to react to any kind of fluctuation in demand, spikes up or down, or any kind of emergency, but also more in general to offer your workforce a better work-life balance. So I would say, I think that providing more flexibility is a way to elevate the customer experience automatically. So enabling work from home, enabling the use of gig economy workers, all of those things can help create that flexibility, and in turn, allowing a better match of demand versus availability will increase the customer experience. Because let's be clear, if you don't have the right person at the right time answering that contact, the experience is going to suffer. Doesn't matter what investments we are doing in the background from a technology standpoint, there will always be a time, I believe, where you will need the right expertise from a human to provide that experience. And that needs to be tuned with the demands of the business.
Now, we've talked about technologies and strategies and investments you can make, but we can't ignore culture. You can go to our events or read blogs or articles or white papers, really anything that allows you to hear from different companies in the space, and they'll almost all tell you about the importance of culture. But it's important to remember that the specific culture is going to be different from organization to organization. I mean, not every company is going to allow you to have pets on the floor or put bright paint on the walls or have fun rooms and parties. And so I want to see, G, if you can identify maybe some more standard, scalable elements of a good culture. How can any organization get there, even if they don't have the budget for a big party or some massive renovation to their office?
I don't think it goes with parties, honestly. I think, nothing against parties. Anytime is good to have fun. But I think culture has to pivot around the customer obsession. So when you put the customer at the center of everything you do, then is where you get the right customer experience. And I'm using the word customer obsession. It's another buzzword, if you like, very explicitly, because it is not just sufficient to talk about the customer. It's not just sufficient to think that the customer is important. Customer obsession goes further, is designing your experiences around the customer, is making sure that all your conversations start with the customer. If you start all the staff meetings or the daily stand-ups talking about metrics, there is a good chance that your culture will be driving metrics. If you start all the stand-up meetings talking about savings, it's very clear that that is their priority. If you start all your meetings sharing a customer story and how we helped the customer yesterday, that is a way to instill that culture. I mean, there are a lot of very simple things that can be done to drive a customer-obsessed culture, but it has to be pervasive across all the layers of leadership in the support space, and it has to be sincere, because otherwise it's just lip service.
Now, speaking about culture and connection and customer obsession, those themes are really at the heart of our Customer Contact Week series. When we're putting those events together, we're really passionately trying to unite the customer contact community and rally everyone around this idea of customer obsession. And you've had the chance to attend many of our iterations across Vegas and Austin and Nashville as a participant, speaker, advisor, you name it. So you've really seen the full dimension of our different programs, and I'm curious, 𝗚, what keeps you coming back?
The people. I have to say, there is an amazing community around CCW, and it's a community that is willing to teach and to learn. And I'm not talking about the speakers or the advisory board. I'm talking about everybody that is participating into the events. What I noticed is that everybody is coming with a very open mind. They want to learn, but even more importantly, they are willing to share. The amount of learning I do while I'm one of those conferences is outstanding, because I hear so many different perspectives from all the participants, from different industries, different size of support organizations, different problems they are facing. And it's so enlightening to have that holistic view of what is going on in the space. So that is for sure my biggest reason for coming over and over.
Now, I know that you said it's not just the advisory board when you're talking about the people and the community factor at our events, but you have been part of our advisory board for a while. You have built relationships with a lot of members of our advisory board. So tell me what that's like.
It's mind-blowing. That's the only way I can describe it. It's so empowering to be in a room, physically or virtually, with industry peers that are coming again from different spaces, different industries, and each one is adding so much value when we have conversations. I'm thrilled to always see things differently after walking away from one of those meetings, and I think that's the biggest value, is we are having such a rich cross section of the industry that with our contribution, I think we can also help drive the industry a little bit, and that is what is making me very proud to be part of the board.
Now, speaking of Vegas, we're going to be heading there later this year in August for the next iteration of CCW. You're surely going to be there. So what are you most looking forward to beyond the event? What are your favorite places to go when you are in Las Vegas?
I really love the fountains at the Bellagio, which, by the way, it should be pronounced Bellagio because it's an Italian name. But me coming from Italy, I love that place, and the music and the water games, it's amazing there. So I really enjoy spending time walking there. And if you walk a little further down the street, then there is the fire show at the Mirage as well. That is beautiful to see, all that energy, and it's always fascinating to me.
So there you go. Not only are you going to have the chance to interact with a great community of people, but there's so much to do even outside the event in Las Vegas, from casinos to shows to all kinds of different things that you can really enjoy and make your experience so memorable. Now, one of those areas is definitely food. So, 𝗚, if you could have one meal in Vegas, what would that meal be?
Oh, this is a tough one. There are a lot of restaurants in Vegas I really like, and food in general is pretty amazing there. I will pick Raku, though. Raku is my favorite Japanese restaurant in Vegas. It's not the fanciest, it's not the biggest, it's quite small place, but they do amazing Japanese food, and they hand produce their tofu, and fresh tofu is just to die for. It's fantastic.
And that's not just any recommendation, ladies and gentlemen. That's a recommendation from a CCW advisory board member. So you're going to want to take that one to the bank and make your reservations now. And more broadly, G, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, not only for the content you provide for CCW, but for the entire customer contact community. You're always there answering questions, helping out, doing everything you can to get our community in the right direction, to make our agents more empowered, to satisfy our customers, to grow our business. So thank you so much, G, for all you do.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure as usual. And thanks so much for having me, Brian.
And for CCW Digital, this has been Brian Cantor. Don't forget to check out ccwdigital.com right now for all your latest customer contact content needs, as well as some proprietary research. And don't forget to join us in Vegas this August as we celebrate our 21st Customer Contact Week. Can't wait to see you there.